Welcome to this week's edition of the Q1 Buck Poll. Tim Hart with Mike Big Buck Hoffner. Well, Big Buck, the season has begun. People are out in the woods, and that means a couple of things. We're finding more deer with EHD dead, but also we're starting to get entries in the Q1 Buck Poll.
Yeah, well, this is what it's all about. We can't wait till the season gets started, but you're right. When it comes to EHD, that seems to be the hot topic of conversation no matter where you go, is how is it going to affect this season's totals.
Today we're going to talk to the DNR director, Keith Cray, with us. He is new to the position. He's been a hunter and fisherman his whole life, and so he's going to bring some new ideas to the position.
Well, you know, anytime you have somebody new, you can look at it two ways, but I always look at it that I'm always excited about what positive changes you can bring, and I'm looking forward to he can bring to the DNR.
Also on today's show, we're going to talk to Jason Perry. He is the founder of the Southeast Michigan QDMA chapter, and I've done a lot of work with those guys over the years, and they're going to be talking about their 6th annual Habitat Day.
Well, you know, QDMA has proven to be an effective thing to use in the art of deer hunting, and so I know they've made a big difference in our deer herds, and we thank the QDMA for what they do.
We're also going to again discuss the Q1 Buck Poll scoring system. We'll have that at the end of the show, and then we've got a couple of guests that are going to be featured on here because the Bucks are starting to come in, and Big Buck has got some students from his Branch Area Career Center. They're going to be sharing their pictures with us. So stay tuned. We got all of that and more right here on the Q1 Buck Poll.
The Q1 Buck Poll is sponsored by these participating businesses who support the great outdoors in Michigan.
One of the things we like to do here on the Q1 Buck Poll is visit each week with the DNR, whether it's a conservation officer, or in this case, today's show, we're going to be talking to the director, Keith Cray. And you know, Mike, they're trying to do a lot of outreach programs, not just to get youth hunting, but they also want to get them out there just enjoying the outdoors, whether it's Michigan trails or parks or recreation areas, whatever the case is, they want to get people in the outdoors.
Well, I'll tell you what, and Michigan is a great state. It's the great state with great outdoor recreation activities, all kinds of hunting and fishing activities, and you know, promoting the great state of Michigan, I'm all for it.
Here's the new director of the DNR, Keith Cray. I'm now talking to the director of the DNR, Keith Cray. Keith, welcome to the show.
Tim, thanks for having me.
All right, well, welcome. You're the new director here, and I know that you have a background of being out there and hunting and fishing. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, Tim, actually, I tell people that when I graduated from college, my dream job would have been working for a Department of Natural Resources. So I've really come full circle. I spent a career at the Michigan Department of Agriculture. I actually grew up hunting and fishing. I did the Boy Scout stuff. I didn't do FFA. Ended up being Eagle Scout. I've been hunting since I've been 10. My dad still's alive. We still go to deer camp, and we have a lot of fun at it.
All right, so what is, you know, some people are going to say, well, he's an ag guy. So what's an ag guy doing running the DNR, and what are some of the plans here?
Well, it's really all about land management and landscape management. And so when I was at ag, we actually we interfaced with DNR quite a bit, right? Whether it was TB and deer, whether it's pheasant restoration, whether it's environmental practices. So if you talk about maintaining the land, it doesn't matter if it's state land or private land. It's really a lot of the same issues.
Mm-hmm. Do you have some short-term goals or long-term? What's your plan?
Well, actually, it's a great agency. We got great professionals, and there's a couple of things that we need to do. We need to pay attention to the 4.6 million acres we own. Mm-hmm. Governor asked an easy question. Is that the right number of acres to own? What's the purpose of it, not just the quantity? So we'll do a comprehensive land use plan with our stakeholders and see if we can get that right. 2 is we need to have outstanding customer service. You know, the antlerless permits crashed the other day because of technology. That's not acceptable. We need to work on our technology. We need to work on customer service. 3 is we got to look at our funding streams. For too long, the sportsmen and women of this state have really bared the brunt of all the natural resources issues. So we need to broaden that a little bit, and we'll work with our friends in the legislature and our stakeholders to do that. And then last is because of our outstanding staff locally, we can do a little better job making local decisions. You know, it takes a long time to push paper up into Lansing and get it back. And so if you trust your employees, you'll get good decisions.
And it seems like in all the interviews that we've done, you know, you've got good people out in the field that their whole concern is about, you know, managing the resources that are out there.
Right. We have passionate, knowledgeable individuals. And as I've traveled around the state, and I've been in UP, I've been to Southeast Michigan, and so I've been out a lot in my first 10 weeks. And everyone has the same statements. They'd like to have their local DNR person involved, but they're not real happy with the DNR at time.
Right.
And that's really more process than product. So we'll see if we can't get it right.
Well, don't you think that comes from people, you know, that have grown up like yourself, hunting and fishing, and they have a strong opinion about how they want to see things managed, and that's kind of where the deer advisory groups come in, so reaching out to the hunters out there?
Oh, absolutely. We have great stakeholders that are very passionate about what they do, and they're knowledgeable about the resource, so we need to engage them fully as we move ahead. However, I'd like to suggest that we need to speak with one voice. And because of the variations in the resource, we have a lot of different voices. And so we could be more successful by speaking with one voice. And so we'll try to do that. But I did meet with the Conservation Coalition, and we'll work on that message.
Would you say that the biggest significant challenge would be funding, or are there other issues?
Actually, good program, good policy funding follows that. So we've had it backwards. We've been asking for potentially some funding changes without necessarily being very articulate with what that will accomplish. As the governor talks about regional economies, what better than natural resources to drive regional economies, whether it's hunting, fishing, tourism, recreation, land-based industries, forestry, mining, oil and gas. I mean, the Department of Natural Resources plays a crucial and fundamental role, especially in the rural areas, to keeping towns alive. And so let's figure out how we can drive those regional economies in a sustainable, thoughtful manner, and let's be at the table.
In the meantime, you know, the push is, hey, even if you don't hunt or fish, go out and buy a license, because that helps fund things.
Well, I'd go one step further. Buy a passport. So the Rec Passport's a great program. It's $10 when you renew your license. Get a recreation passport, whether you're going to use a state access site or not. Whether you kayak, whether you hike, whether you're watching birds, or whether you're hunting and fishing. If you get a recreation passport, that helps this department tremendously.
And finally, communicating with the hunters out there. I know that you guys are doing a lot with, you know, your websites and, you know, getting the information out. Are there other issues that, other ways that you're doing that too?
Well, we're going to partner with people like the Buck Poll to make sure we tell first a true and accurate story. But second is, my kids, they all have iPhones. And when you're in an area, you'd like to click on that icon, and you'd like to know where are the boat launches, where are the wineries, where are the cross-country ski trails, where are the access points, and oh, by the way, where's that good grouse habitat that we can go out now go hunting since it's after the 15th, right?
That's exactly right. That is right. Now, one final
I don't want to give away your secrets.
One final thing on this before we go. So you grew up hunting and fishing. You said you still go to deer camp. So do you get out into the woods as often as you'd like?
No. No one ever does, but that's also part of it. It's good to leave the woods wanting to go back, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And so part of it is I do try to get out as much as I can. This job actually, though, you're a little bit busier, so during hunting season, sometimes you're visiting hunting camps instead of visiting your blind, so we'll try to balance that.
All right, well, thanks for being with us here today.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
Well, it was fun to meet the new director, Keith Cray, and Mike, again, one of the things I think that the DNR is trying to do is do a lot of outreach, as he talked about, and people can go onto the DNR website to get a lot of information.
And you know, communication, I always tell people it can be your best friend or your worst enemy, and we want the DNR to be our friend.
That is for sure, especially when you're going out in the woods.
Exactly.
Big Bug Hoffner
Know
needs
the rules.
the DNR to be his friend.
Do it right. Those are the lessons to be learned.
That is hilarious. All right, when we come back, I'll have Jason Perry from the Southeast Michigan QDMA chapter. He'll be talking about their Habitat Day after this. We're fortunate to live in the great state of Michigan with millions of acres of recreational land, 11,000 inland lakes, and for a lot of people, it's a dream come true to own their own piece of property. Today I've got Randy Steck with us. He's the Senior Vice President of Sales and Customer Relations at Greenstone Farm Credit Services. Randy, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tim.
Now, Greenstone has been a proud sponsor of the Q1 Buck Poll for a number of years, and you've really helped thousands of Michigan residents own a piece of recreational land.
Yes, we have provided financing for thousands of folks across the state, and we're very happy to be part of that dream building process.
And you know, Randy, owning a piece of recreational land means what? You can manage it the way you want, you can create food plots, habitat areas for wildlife, so it's really something that is an awesome thing for outdoor enthusiasts.
Yes, in addition to habitat improvement for wildlife, but also improvements for the human side of things too, where they can enjoy the luxury of a cabin or bring in electricity to the property. So it involves not only just wildlife habitat improvement, but also improving the property in general for everybody.
And Greenstone has a number of outdoor enthusiasts on staff, but you also have locations all over the state too.
Yes, our 31 offices are conveniently located to the bulk of the customers that we do business with, and we encourage those folks to stop in and talk to us. We share a lot of the same values and beliefs that the outdoors community has, and many of our staff actually enjoy the same activities.
Randy, there's a lot of different programs too, aren't there?
Yes, we can provide financing for up to 30 years and a fixed rate of interest for as little as 20% down.
Randy, how can I find out more about the programs that are available from Greenstone?
Well, there are a variety of methods. Certainly you can check us out on the web. You can reach us at our toll-free number anywhere in the state of Michigan, or you can also stop by one of our 31 conveniently located offices.
And if you're a successful hunter out there, you can take your buck or doe to any of the different Greenstone offices across the state. And I expect to see you holding a big rack out here this year.
Well, I certainly hope to.
All right, Randy, thanks for being with us. Randy Steck's been with us from Greenstone Farm Credit Services. Back here in the Q1 Buck Pull, one of the things that we really like to do is to educate our audience on how they can grow bigger deer, create a better wildlife habitat for their land that they have. And one of the people that has been at the forefront is Jason Perry. He's the founder of the Southeast Michigan QDMA chapter. And Mike, we've talked to a number of QDMA presidents of their chapters. We've talked to members. We've talked to just people who follow the criteria of quality deer management, and it really is making a difference here in the state of Michigan.
Well, you think about it, when we started, 5-6 years ago doing the show, I'm not sure we had much conversation at all about QDMA. But I'll tell you what, it exploded. People are interested in it, and now everywhere you go, you have people talking about what can I do to grow bigger deer on my property. And even at the local level, I have a small plot out in the country that I live on. I was having a conversation with Bob Stempian actually this morning, and I was telling him some of the things I was doing, because I had the bulldozers come in, moved some land, planted some stuff down there, but my wife and I like just to watch out the picture windows and watch the deer down by the riverside.
I'm Jason Perry. I'm with the Southeast Michigan branch of the Quality Deer Management Association, and today's our 6th annual Habitat Field Day. And what this event is, it's an event that we invite not only QDMA members from around the state, but also non-members, and hope to educate and bring them to light with the latest and greatest in habitat management. Today we have Dr. Craig Harper. He is a nationally renowned habitat specialist. He works for the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, and what he does is he's done years and years of research on wildlife-related habitat management techniques and food plots, different things that way, and he is 100%, you're not going to see any smoke and mirrors. It's all, science and testing, and he's used by some of the best, not only our organization, but some of the other National Wild Turkey Federation and some other organizations as well. Our goal really is to hopefully educate people on the benefits of having balance in the deer habitat and ecology that we have here in Southeast Michigan. There's really not a better place, in my opinion, in the country to have deer. Everybody hears about Iowa and Missouri and all the things that way. The only thing that we really don't have here that sets us apart is the age in our deer herd. So, education and on all cornerstones of quality deer management is where it's at, and hopefully we can get there on a voluntary basis. If you've looked around today, you won't see, the property owners have some of the deer that they've, been able to harvest here on their farm over the years, and they're great bucks. And what that is, it's just it's a benefit of your overall balanced approach to deer management, and that's what quality deer management is truly about. It's not just big bucks, it's your antlerless management, your land management from all aspects, not just food plots, but doing a lot with the native browse. And what can quality deer management do for me? I think number one, we can help educate people that are looking to have a healthier, better deer hunting experience in the state of Michigan. Number one. The first step would be just to get the numbers to what would be a carrying capacity where we're not doing damage to the native habitat. I mean, if you look around a lot of the southern Michigan roads especially, you see browse lines, you see 50, 60 deer in a field, and that's, you know, it's something that eventually is going to be a problem, especially with some of the threats of the diseases. And, you know, this summer especially, we're looking at some new problems with disease and issues that way. Today we'll have a seminar. We'll have speakers, obviously Dr. Craig Harper. I'll give a little background on the hosts and the host property, and we'll have a group from the DNR, Al Stewart, who's heading up the Pheasant Restoration Initiative and giving us some ideas of where they're going with some of their co-ops, and they want to work with us, you know, not only just for the deer or just for the pheasants, but a combined habitat improvement. And then from there we'll tour this 460-acre property. The hosts, Larry and Emily Dash, have done, you know, just tons of work. I'm sure you can see around some of, just from this point right here, they put years of practice into the things that we'll get to see today, and it'll be a fun time.
So if you'd like more information about QDMA, you can go to their website. They've got all kinds of information. They've got the chapters listed on there, so you can find out more about the chapters, but they also have a lot of resources online.
Yeah, well, they've got it all, Tim, and like I said before, QDMA has been a growing interest to a lot of people that are in the hunting world, and they've done a fantastic job here in Michigan.
And it's not just about growing big racks, it's about enhancing the whole land base to increase and give your wildlife a better habitat overall. I'm Tim Hart, he's Mike Big Buck Hoffner. When we come back, we're going to talk about our scoring system, plus we got some bucks to show you right here on the Q1 Buck Poll. Well, there's a lot of places to go hunting. You got private land, you got public land, or you've got in the city. And that's our case right now because Mike has got family and relatives that have been out hunting in the city, and they've had success.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, they call it urban deer hunting, and I haven't been exposed to it other than I've seen it on occasion on some TV shows about urban deer hunting. It's a crazy thing. I was down to Indianapolis, got a great friend of mine, his name is John Hennessy's brother, that's big time into urban deer hunting. And I'll tell you what, he shot himself a dandy. He shot himself a 14-pointer in the city limits.
Well, we're going to do that in Coldwater because we got a whole pack that run out by the Q1 studios. And I think if I could just get my crossbow right behind us, I'll get that thing out, stand right outside our door as they come by, I might be able to pick one off.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, though, it's limited to bow hunting only, but people have a pretty good time with it, but they've become a nuisance in town. And when you see the size of the buck you shot and you're figuring you're riding down the freeway and you're going to run into this with your car, it's better out taking it out with a bow and feeding the hungry with it, as Sam Hennessy did. All
right, so good-looking buck that he got in the city, and so maybe, I don't know, maybe try down the street somewhere. I have no idea. All right, how are the bucks scored here on the Q1 Buck Poll? Let me show you. So how do we score deer on the Q1 Buck Poll? It's a very easy and simple process. First of all, we count the number of points on each side. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points total. All the points have to be at least an inch in length to be counted in the scoring. Then we measure the inside spread. We'll take the tape measure here, run it all the way across, and we've got about 15.5 for the inside spread. Then we'll come down here and measure the mass. With the mass, we measure about an inch above the burrs, and so this one would come out to 3 3/4. We'd go to the other side, and we have 3 3/4. So there's most of our score. And then the last thing that we do is we measure the longest tine. Now we don't measure the main beam. Somebody says, hey, wait, that goes all the way out. I'd like to measure that. Nope, it's the longest tine coming off of that beam. And for this particular rack, we would measure this tine right here. And then this one would come out to about 5.5 in total length. And that's how we score it. You say, hey, do I need to bring just the rack in, or can I bring the whole deer in? Either or. You can bring the rack or the deer as soon as you harvest it in to one of the locations to get your deer scored. What about doe? What do we do there? They are just an entry into the contest. We don't weigh them, we don't score them in any way. You'll take your information and give it to the person that's scoring, and then sign off, and we'll get that registration in. That's how easy it is to score the deer here on the Q1 Buck Poll. As most of you know, Big Buck Hoffner is the director of the Branch Area Career Center, and each and every year they have their own little mini buck poll that's part of the Q1 Buck Poll. And Mike, you've got some students, I mean right off the bat, Mr. Hoffner, Mr. Big Buck, I got a buck, you got to see it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's been a great relationship builder with kids, but we have a student at the center. He's in our IT program. His name is Kevin Keck, and he comes rolling into my office and says, Mr. Hoffner, you got to see the buck I shot during the youth hunt this year. And it was his first deer ever shooting, and he shot it with a muzzle loading during the youth hunt, nice 8-pointer, and actually brought it to my office the next day. He brought the whole head in. Had the head cut off, brought the whole head. He did.
How did the secretaries take that?
You know what? He was pretty cool about it because he brought it in a plastic bag and the antlers were sticking out of the top, and there it is laying on the corner of my desk, and he says, you've got a surprise when you go in your office. So I brought him down, and it was kind of an educational experience too, because I showed him the Q1 buck hole scoring method.
All right, and you just saw that, so what great fun. And again, make sure you get the kids out there and do some hunting this year. One of the other questions that we've had quite a bit here on the Q1 Buck Poll is, how is EHD affecting the deer herd? And you know, last week we talked to the chief of the Wildlife Division, Russ Mason. We've talked to the director, Keith Cray, earlier in today's show, and they're really not going to do anything right now, but I will tell you this, as the hunters take the field like they are right now, more and more deer are being found. And so if somebody says, oh, they've got documented 8,000, I would put it at 16,000 or 20,000.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, when you've talked at the local level to the people that you and I have, it seems like everybody that I've talked to that owns a farm, I mean, some of the stories are rather sick. I've talked to one of my counselors that said, you know, we're sitting out on the deck and something just didn't smell right on the farm. So they said, well, honey, let's go out. We're going to go walk the farm. They found 40 deer on their farm.
Oh, my goodness.
You know, and former students I've had come into the office. And so when you start doing all the math on that, just in our little pocket here at Branch County, those numbers are going to be devastating to our deer herd.
So really what the key is make sure that you report as much as you can to the DNR when you find deer on your property or on state land, whatever the case is, so that they can document it so we can have the proper management system in place for next year's deer hunting.
I'll tell you what, you know, Mother Nature has a way of doing its business, and it sounds cruel, sounds sad, but I'll tell you what, it's going to make deer hunting a little bit of a challenge this year, so I challenge you deer hunters to get out there and make the best of your season, because there's still some big bucks to bag.
Get your buck registered at any of the locations, or your doe at any of the Auto Value locations or Greenstone Farm Credit locations. It's quick, simple, and easy, and it's free, and we're giving away a $5,000 ATV from Custom Connection Motorsports. For Mike Big Buck Hoffner, I'm Tim Hart. Thanks for being with us this week on the Q1 Buck Poll.
We want the DNR to be our friend.
That is for sure, especially when you're going out in the woods.
Exactly.